Hey everyone and welcome back. So I am going to take a look at these individual font families first before I start making my decision. Maybe we'll weed out a couple. So let's start with just the headings on the right here. So we have Martel, which has it has actually a couple different styles. I don't think I'm going to use italics. Then we have Laura, which has 8 styles in total with italics. We have Merriweather, which is the same. And then we have Garamond, which is 10 in total. Now, just based off of the type of brand our product is, let me just say that I think we want it to be a little bit fun. And right now, I feel like there's just too much contrast, especially with Garamond, with the top and bottom. And this is very, I'm getting serious vibes from this typeface. So I'm actually going to snuff this one out and not use it. So I'm just going to delete it. When I look at Merriweather, Merriweather does fall into that line, but I'm getting some it is kind of blocky and very, very, if you look at just some of the letter forms here, like the way even the Y cuts off, it's very blocky and very serious, I would say, in a way. I like it, but I don't know if it's going to suit the brand. The one thing I do really like about, all the fonts, font families that are left is that, things like the D, it's popping up, like the X height of these letters, they're not as low as like Garamond was. The one thing I don't like about Martel though, is the same thing I don't like about Merriweather. I think it's a little bit, there's not enough contrast yet between the letter forms of like a sans serif and a serif. You can even tell here, they don't really have any serif. It's more of like a slab serif, if you will, especially Merriweather. So I'm actually going to choose Laura. I like these. It kind of has a little bit of personality, especially with these curves. It's nice. It's still a throwback to some of these serifs with these balls on the end. And that's kind of what I'm going for over here. So I'm going to choose that. At the end of the day, this stuff is kind of subjective. And, how we interpret these font families, I mean, obviously, there's not much difference between all these three, and it's going to come down to personal preference. So, lead with that at the end of the day. But, this in comparison to like Garamond, there is a big difference in terms of what it's going to convey when you put that on a screen. And we'll get to that. When it comes to the actual paragraph copy, now I'm looking for a lot of versatility. So yeah, we're definitely getting that with things like Open Sans, Leto. What else do we have here? Roboto. Roboto's huge. I'm actually just straight up going to delete Roboto right out of the gate. I mean, it kind of reeks of Android, and it's a little condensed and really serious in its letter forms. It's really narrow. There's not a lot of space in terms of width. So we don't need that one anymore. So Source Sans, I think, kind of falls to the same issue here. It's a narrow font. Some of the letter forms here are pretty serious. They're really, narrow, almost kind of condensed a bit. So I think we are going to get rid of that one. And right now it's a little bit of a tie between Inter, we have Leto, and we have Open Sans. So again, these aren't as narrow as some of the other ones that we were looking at. They're a little more wider. I think I'm going to get rid of Leto because there's almost this weird cross between, if you look, the letter forms aren't all equal in width. And it's kind of that's fine. But I mean, it's almost mimicking the serif letter forms. Whereas a typical sans serif like Open Sans and Inter, they're pretty uniform in their width in through the letter forms. So I do want to keep that contrast, and I think we can actually get rid of this one as well. So as you can see, I'm just kind of going through each and every one of them and really trying to choose what I think is going to be the big competitors. And I think we're going to explore these two. I mean, I'm probably just going to make a choice here. When it comes to Open Sans is a nice font, but once again, it suffers kind of what Lazo suffers from in terms of, the G is very reminiscent of a typical serif G, and little things like that, and even like the T as well. Like we kind of have this like little slope here, which is reminiscent of, the serif T's that we're gonna find, over here. So I think I'm gonna choose Inter and Laura to go with, and you can swap that. But let's put them together and see how they work. Because like at this point, maybe I'm wrong, but I actually kind of like this. Like it looks really nice if I, put them together and press like Shift A. We have our auto layout frame. Say I want to, make a card, and let's it's actually like it's looking pretty cool, and I'm actually really digging it. I think this is something we can actually use. It gives me a lot of variation with the headings. I can even mix and match headings with sans serif and serif. It gives me great flexibility in terms of just like the typeface when it comes to all the different types of styles I can use within body copy, labels within buttons, labels within inputs. So this is the route I'm going to go, and we're going to build this out next.